Good morning, it's Lloyd. Today we are looking at the Reposit power hardware I've got installed at my house. This unit is a bit of a wizard in what it can do for our house. Not so much just yet, but in the future when we put batteries on, and then essentially when the energy market allows us to start exporting based on different available offers from different retailers, we'll really start to see this piece of hardware come into its own. What we're currently doing is monitoring our incoming mains and monitoring our SMA inverter. I wasn't too keen on using the SMA monitoring hardware because I plan to expand in the future and wanted something a bit more universal. So what we're looking at on this display is 3 sets of data. If we start with the middle green section of data, this is offering up our household consumption for a 24-hour period. And what you can see, we hit some spikes, certain appliances that come on through the day, whether that be our 1 kilowatt air conditioner, anything along those lines that we sort of use depending on what we're doing during the day. And that's irrelevant of what the solar is doing. If we look at the bottom orange graph, that offers up our solar production for the day. And again, irrelevant of what we're doing within the house. And that can actually just tell us, which is a nice handy hint, what time our system turns on. Currently on the 19th of May, turning on about 8:30 and turning off for what I would call about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which I'm happy to take that. Come summertime, we'll easily get an extra hour either side of that. But what is the key piece of information here is this top graph. This graph represents a combination of the two, both household consumption and solar production, combines the two and plots a new graph and actually specifies when we're paying for power, when we're producing a credit to the grid. Obviously these spikes in here are dipping into our solar production. That's actually what we want to do. We actually want to fill up this space with what we're using out of here. That's what we call load shifting. And obviously here our system's turning off in the afternoon, the oven goes on, those types of things, which we just can't avoid. But once we're able to put a battery system in place, obviously we'll be able to capture all of this excess and we'll be able to use it on these outside window sections. Now self-consumption should skyrocket. Until then, we won't see any state of charge information on the battery section down on the right. But when that time comes, what's super excellent about the Reposit hardware is it monitors the weather patterns, both current and future. And once we've got a battery in place, it will then determine how and when it charges that based on the best possible outcome for us financially. And what's a nice little feature is if we go to today's information, we'll actually see that it's plotted our projected usage for the day. That's based on previous data, which is quite a handy feature. So it will actually develop its own patterns for the day, and then depending on what the weather forecast suggests, it will then determine if we've got a battery, how to and when to charge that battery for us to get the most out of it. So this piece of hardware is in a league of its own, very popular on the East Coast because obviously their energy crisis is at a peak and all these retailers are offering all sorts of different types of plans. But once we hit that mark here on the West Coast, my system will be in a league of its own, and for those other customers of ours running this hardware, we will be at the forefront of what our systems can truly do for what we're going to call a smart home. So if you've got any questions on the product, give us a shout. But I hope this was a bit helpful, and a big shout out to Reposit Power. They're doing some great and wonderful things for the solar industry. Cheers.